Captain Derek Collins stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars. He had been in space for 15 years now, ever since Earth had discovered how to travel faster than light. The galaxy was bigger than anyone had imagined, filled with alien races and strange new worlds. When humanity first arrived, the other species had welcomed them with open arms. Or so it seemed. The Galactic Council ruled over 17 different alien species. They had been at peace for 3,000 years, which sounded impressive to human ears. Derek remembered the day Earth applied to join them. The council members had smiled and nodded, treating humans like children who had finally learned to walk. They accepted Earth's application, but Derek noticed something in their eyes. They looked down on humanity. Amy Preston walked onto the bridge carrying a datapad. She was young for a lieutenant, only 26, but she was sharp and quick. Derek trusted her judgment more than most of his senior officers. She handed him the pad without saying a word. Her face told him everything he needed to know. It was bad news. Derek read the report and felt his stomach drop. Another attack. This time it was the colony on New Boston, a settlement with 12,000 people, men, women, and children who had traveled across the galaxy to build a new life. The Krell Empire had attacked them without warning. New Boston had gone completely silent 6 hours ago. How many is that now? Derek asked, though he already knew the answer. 3 colonies in the past month, Amy replied quietly. New Boston is the largest one they've hit. Derek handed the pad back to her and stared out at the stars again. The Krell were a reptilian species, tall and covered in green scales. They had been expanding their territory for decades, pushing into space that other species claimed. Every time someone complained to the Galactic Council, the Council would talk and do nothing. They preferred words over action, meetings over military response. Jake Murphy entered the bridge with more bad news. He was the ship's executive officer, a big man with a booming voice that could be heard across 3 decks. Today he spoke softly, which made Derek worry even more. Captain, we're getting scanner readings from New Boston's orbit. There are 5 Krell warships up there. The colony's shields are down. We're detecting fires across the main settlement. Derek closed his eyes. 12,000 people. He had visited New Boston once 2 years ago. He remembered children playing in the streets, farmers working in the fields under a yellow sun. Now those fields were probably burning. Get me a channel to Earth Command, Derek ordered. Priority 1. While Jake set up the communication link, Derek thought about the past 20 years. When Earth had first made contact with alien life, everyone had been so excited. Finally, humanity wasn't alone in the universe. They could learn from older, wiser civilizations. They could become part of something bigger than themselves. But Derek had served in the military before joining the space fleet. He had fought in 3 different conflicts on Earth. He knew what humans were capable of when pushed. He also knew that humanity had been holding back, trying to fit in with the galactic community. Earth had shown the Council a small fleet of 50 ships, all equipped with basic weapons and defensive systems. The Council had looked at those ships and decided humanity was weak. They had no idea what Earth was really hiding. The communication screen lit up, and President Linda Hayes appeared. She sat in her office in Washington, but Derek knew she was also connected to the hidden command center deep underground. Linda had been a general before becoming president. She understood war better than any politician Earth had ever elected. Captain Collins, she said, I have seen the reports from New Boston. Yes, ma'am. It's bad. The worst one yet. Linda's face showed no emotion, but Derek had worked with her long enough to see the anger in her eyes. She was furious, but she kept it controlled. That control made her dangerous. I'm about to address the Galactic Council, Linda said. This is the final warning, Derek. If they don't act this time, we will. Derek understood what she meant. For 20 years, Earth had played by the Council's rules. They had filed complaints, attended meetings, and waited for the galactic justice system to work. But that system was broken. The Council talked about peace while human colonies burned. What are your orders, ma'am? Derek asked. Stand by at New Boston. If any more Krell ships arrive, you are authorized to defend yourself. Use whatever force is necessary. Derek nodded. Those were the words he had been waiting to hear. Linda ended the transmission and Derek turned to his crew. Battle stations, he ordered. Bring all weapons online, shields to maximum. The bridge came alive with activity. Officers moved to their stations, fingers flying across control panels. The ship's engines hummed louder as more power flowed through the systems. Derek's ship wasn't part of Earth's hidden fleet. But it was still more advanced than the Krell realized. On Earth, President Linda Hayes prepared to address the Galactic Council. She stood in front of the holographic camera, straightening her jacket. Behind her, Admiral Greg Hamilton watched from the hidden command center. He was ready to give the order that would change everything. The hologram activated and Linda appeared before the assembled council. 17 different species looked at her with varying degrees of interest. Most of them seemed bored. They had heard human complaints before. Ambassador Vornis of the Krell Empire sat in his seat, his forked tongue flickering out to taste the air. He looked amused. Members of the council, Linda began, her voice calm and measured. 3 human colonies have been attacked in the past 30 days. Over 15,000 civilians are dead or missing. We have filed formal complaints each time. We have followed every protocol in your legal system. We have been patient while you debated and discussed. The council members shifted in their seats. High Counselor Theros, a being made of living crystal, spoke in his musical voice. President Hayes, we understand your frustration. The matter is under review. Under review? Linda's voice didn't rise, but something in her tone made several council members sit up straighter. 15,000 people are dead. How many more need to die before this stops being a review and becomes action? Ambassador Vornis laughed, a hissing sound that echoed through the chamber. Perhaps if humanity had invested in proper defenses instead of exploration, your colonies would be safer. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Linda looked directly at Vornis. Her expression didn't change, but her next words were chosen carefully. Every human watching knew what they really meant. This is your final warning, Linda said clearly. Protect human settlements under galactic law, or we will protect them ourselves. You may not like our methods. The council chamber fell silent. Then several members began talking at once, their voices rising in confusion and concern. Vornis laughed again, louder this time. He thought humanity was bluffing. The entire council thought Earth was making empty threats. They had seen Earth's registered military assets, 50 ships with basic weapons, defensive protocols that seemed almost primitive compared to Krell battlecruisers. They had decided humanity was weak, and nothing Linda said would change their minds. What they didn't know was that those 50 ships were just the diplomatic fleet. The real military had been hidden for 15 years, built in secret in the cold darkness between stars. Humanity had been preparing for this exact moment since the day they joined the council. Linda ended the transmission and looked at Greg Hamilton. The Admiral stood up, his hand hovering over the communication panel that would activate the Shadow Fleet. "Ma'am?" he asked quietly. "Not yet," Linda replied. "Give them one more chance. If the Krell attack again, we stop pretending." In orbit above New Boston, Derek watched the Krell warships through his scanner. They were just sitting there, probably waiting for orders. The colony below was in ruins, fires still burning across the settlement. Rescue teams were trying to reach survivors, but the Krell ships weren't letting anyone through. Amy approached Derek with another report. "Captain, we're getting a transmission from the surface. It's one of the colony administrators. She says there are still 8,000 people alive in the shelter systems, but they're running out of air." Derek made his decision. "Open a channel to those Krell ships." "Channel open, sir." "Krell vessels, this is Captain Derek Collins of Earth Defense. You will withdraw from this system immediately and allow rescue operations to proceed. You have 10 minutes to comply." The response came quickly. A Krell commander appeared on screen, his scaled face twisted in what might have been a smile. "Human ship, you are in Krell territory now. Leave or be destroyed." Derek looked at the Krell commander for a long moment. Then he smiled, and it wasn't a friendly expression. "Wrong answer," Derek said and closed the channel. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been holding back for a reason. The Krell Empire made their biggest mistake 3 days after President Linda Hayes issued her warning. They attacked another human colony, this time choosing Riverside, a farming settlement known for its wheat fields and peaceful way of life. The orbital bombardment lasted 40 minutes. When it was over, 3,000 people were dead. The message from the Krell was clear. They didn't fear humanity. They didn't respect Earth's warnings. As far as they were concerned, humans were weak newcomers who talked too much and fought too little. The Galactic Council held another emergency meeting and decided to form a committee to study the situation. It would take 6 months to release their findings. Earth didn't wait 6 months. Earth didn't wait 6 hours. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, 3 miles underground, Colonel Patrick Moore received a simple message on his secure terminal. 2 words that changed everything. Go loud. Patrick had been waiting 15 years for this message. He commanded the Shadow Fleet, Earth's real military force that had been developed in complete secrecy. While diplomats smiled and shook hands with alien species, Earth's best engineers had been building weapons in the darkness beyond Neptune's orbit. While the Galactic Council counted Earth's 50 diplomatic vessels, no one noticed the 300 warships hiding in the cold spaces between stars. Patrick stood up and addressed his command staff. Activate all Shadow Fleet units. Operation Nightfall is now in effect. Across the solar system, hidden bases came alive. Ships that had been running silent for years powered up their engines. Crews that had trained in secret reported to their stations. Earth had spent 15 years preparing for war, and now that war had finally come. Captain Nicole Grant sat in the command chair of the Vengeance, a stealth destroyer that used technology the Galactic Council had never seen. Her ship could slip past any known sensor array, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Nicole had been handpicked for this mission because she understood something important about warfare. It wasn't about honor or glory. It was about winning. All systems green, her tactical officer reported. Weapons charged and ready. Take us to the Krell border, Nicole ordered. Silent running. I want to be invisible until we're ready to bite. The Vengeance slipped through space like a shadow, leaving no trace of its passage. Behind it, 40 other stealth ships followed in perfect formation. They had practiced this maneuver 1,000 times in the empty reaches beyond Pluto. Now it was real. Commander Ryan Foster sat in the cockpit of Ghost 7, an experimental fighter craft that used quantum tunneling technology. His fighter could appear in one location and then instantly shift to another position up to 10,000 kilometers away. The Krell had never seen anything like it because no other species in the galaxy had developed this technology. Humanity had learned to think differently about physics. Ryan's squadron consisted of 40 pilots, the finest Earth had ever produced. They came from every nation, every background, every military tradition humanity had developed over thousands of years. They had one thing in common. They were all extremely good at destroying things. Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost 7. Ryan transmitted on the secure channel. We're hunting Krell today. Remember your training. Fast, precise, and gone before they know what hit them. Vice Admiral Greg Hamilton watched the tactical display from Earth's hidden command center. Green dots representing human ships were moving into position across 3 star systems. Red dots showed Krell military assets. There were a lot of red dots, but Greg wasn't worried. The Krell had numbers, but Earth had spent 15 years developing weapons specifically designed to counter their technology. Dr. Helen Burke monitored the weapons systems from the science division. She had led the team that developed the directed energy cannons, weapons that could slice through Krell shields like a knife through paper. She had also designed the plasma torpedoes that burned at temperatures previously thought impossible. Every weapon system had been tested extensively on captured Krell technology that human intelligence had acquired over the years. All weapon systems nominal, Helen reported. Energy output is at expected levels. We're ready. Greg nodded and opened a channel to all Shadow Fleet units. This is command. You are authorized to engage. Rules of engagement are in effect. Military targets only. Civilian populations are off limits. Show them what Earth has been hiding, but show them we're not monsters. The first Krell battle group to encounter the Shadow Fleet was patrolling near New Boston. They had 12 ships, all heavily armed cruisers that the Krell considered unstoppable. Their sensors showed nothing unusual. Space was empty and quiet. Then the Vengeance decloaked directly above their flagship. Nicole Grant's voice came through on all frequencies, calm and cold. Krell vessels, you have 60 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning. The Krell commander, a veteran of 30 years of service, couldn't believe what he was seeing. 1 human ship against 12 Krell cruisers. He started laughing. Then he gave the order to charge weapons. He never got to fire them. The Vengeance's main cannon fired once. The Krell flagship simply ceased to exist, vaporized in a beam of concentrated energy that made the surrounding space glow white-hot. Before the other Krell ships could react, 40 stealth destroyers decloaked around them. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, 12 Krell ships were either destroyed or disabled, drifting in space with their crews frantically trying to abandon ship. Nicole opened a channel to the surviving Krell. "This is Captain Nicole Grant of Earth Defense. Tell your Empire what happened here. Tell them we tried to warn you." Similar scenarios played out across the sector. Krell outposts that had stood for decades vanished in coordinated strikes. Supply lines were severed with surgical precision. Communication relays went dark. Ryan Foster's Ghost Squadron hit 3 different Krell shipyards in the span of 6 hours, appearing from nowhere, destroying their targets, and disappearing before the Krell could mount a defense. The Krell Empire had 47 major military installations protecting their territory. Within 72 hours, 19 of them were completely destroyed, and another 16 were severely damaged. The Krell Military Command tried to coordinate a response, but they couldn't figure out what was hitting them. Their sensors showed nothing until human ships opened fire, and by then it was too late. Emperor Vorthak, ruler of the Krell Empire, called an emergency meeting of his war council. They gathered in the palace on the Krell homeworld, a massive structure made of black stone. The Emperor's advisors were afraid, and they had good reason to be. "How is this possible?" Vorthak demanded. "The humans have 50 ships, 50. We have a fleet of 2,000 vessels. How are they doing this?" His chief military advisor, General Zexus, looked at the tactical reports with confusion. "My lord, these are not the ships we've seen before. These are different vessels with technology we don't understand. They appear from nowhere, strike with devastating force, and disappear. Our weapons can't lock onto them. Our shields don't stop their weapons." Vorthak slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Then find a way to stop them. We are the Krell Empire. We do not lose to a species that just learned to fly between stars." But the attacks continued. Patrick Moore coordinated the assault from his command center beneath Colorado, moving ships like pieces on a chessboard. He had studied Krell military doctrine for 10 years. He knew how they thought, how they fought, and most importantly, he knew their weaknesses. "Hit the refueling depot at Krell Station 7, Patrick ordered. "Then pull back and let them think we're retreating. When they send reinforcements, Ghost Squadron hits them from behind." The plan worked perfectly. The Krell were used to fighting opponents who followed honor codes and military traditions. They expected battle lines and formal engagements. Earth fought differently. Humanity had spent 10,000 years fighting each other, developing tactics through millions of conflicts. They knew how to use deception, psychological warfare, and strategic retreats. They understood that in real war, there was no such thing as fighting fair. Nicole Grant led another strike force deep into Krell territory. This time, her target was a major Krell military academy where they trained their officers. The academy was heavily defended with orbital platforms and shield generators. It looked impossible to attack. The Vengeance and her squadron came in from 6 different angles simultaneously, each ship appearing at exactly the same moment. The Krell defenders tried to respond, but they couldn't track all the targets at once. The shield generators were destroyed in the first 30 seconds. The orbital platforms fell in the next minute. Nicole's ship surrounded the academy but didn't fire on it. Instead, she opened a channel to the commandant. "This is Captain Grant. Evacuate your students and staff. You have 20 minutes. We're here for your military infrastructure, not your children." The Krell commandant, surprised by this mercy, ordered an evacuation. True to her word, Nicole waited until every cadet and instructor was safely away before her ships destroyed the empty buildings and training facilities. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council watched in horror as the reports came in. High Counselor Theros called an emergency session, demanding that Earth explain what was happening. The Galactic Council demanded an immediate ceasefire. President Linda Hayes refused. The war would continue until the Krell Empire surrendered unconditionally. The council members were shocked. In 3,000 years of galactic peace, they had forgotten what a real war looked like. They were about to remember. High Counselor Theros sent a delegation to Earth to negotiate. He chose carefully, picking representatives from the oldest and most respected civilizations in the galaxy. They arrived expecting to meet with diplomats and politicians. Instead, they were taken to a military academy in Virginia, where human children were being trained. Commander Beth Sullivan met the delegation at the entrance. She was young, only 32, but she had already served in 3 classified military operations that the council knew nothing about. She smiled politely at the alien visitors and led them inside. "Welcome to the academy," Beth said. I understand you want to know more about how Earth fights. We're happy to show you. The delegation followed her through corridors filled with young people in uniform. The aliens noticed that some of these students were very young, perhaps only 12 or 13 years old. They were studying military history, learning about battles that had happened centuries or even thousands of years ago. One classroom caught their attention. A human instructor was teaching teenagers about something called the Battle of Cannae, a conflict that had occurred over 2,000 years earlier. The students were analyzing how a smaller army had destroyed a much larger force using strategy and deception. The alien delegate from Thessia, a peaceful species that hadn't fought a war in 15 centuries, was disturbed. You teach your children about ancient violence? Beth nodded. We teach them about history. Every human civilization has fought wars. We study them so we can learn from them. This particular battle teaches the importance of terrain, troop placement, and understanding your enemy's psychology. They moved to another area where students were training physically. The aliens watched human teenagers practicing hand-to-hand combat, moving with a fluid grace that seemed almost like dancing. But there was nothing artistic about it. Every movement was designed to disable or kill an opponent as efficiently as possible. Colonel Patrick Moore joined the tour, having arrived from his command center to explain Earth's military philosophy. He was a big man with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. The alien delegates found him unsettling. Humans have been fighting for our entire existence, Patrick explained as they walked. Every culture on Earth has developed martial arts, military strategies, and weapons technology. We've had over 10,000 years to perfect the art of war. When we joined your council, we studied your military doctrines. Do you know what we found? The delegates waited nervously. You've been at peace for 3,000 years, Patrick continued. That's impressive. But do you know what we call a 3,000-year peace? Stagnation. Your military's trained for ceremonies and parades. You've forgotten how to actually fight. We haven't. They entered a simulation room where officers were training in tactical scenarios. The computers generated virtual battles and the humans had to respond in real time. The aliens watched as human officers made decisions in seconds, adapting to changing conditions with terrifying speed. Major Chris Anderson demonstrated close-quarters combat techniques for the visitors. He was built like a tank, all muscle and controlled power. He moved through the demonstration with casual efficiency, showing how a human could disable multiple opponents using nothing but their hands and feet. Humans evolved as hunters, Chris explained. We're persistence predators. We don't give up. We're not the strongest species in the galaxy, not the fastest, not the smartest, but we don't quit ever. That's what makes us dangerous. The alien delegates were beginning to understand something terrifying. Humanity hadn't just built advanced weapons. They had created an entire civilization around the concept of warfare. It wasn't just what they did. It was what they were. Captain Nicole Grant gave a presentation in the strategy room. Behind her, tactical displays showed the current military situation in Krell space. The Krell Empire was collapsing under Earth's assault, losing territory and resources every day. Your species fight like it's a sport, Nicole said, looking directly at the delegates. You have rules, honor codes, traditions. We respect that. But you need to understand something about humans. We don't have honor codes in battle. We have one rule: win. We will use any legal tactic that achieves victory with minimal loss of human life. She brought up footage from recent battles. The aliens watched as human ships used tactics that seemed almost unfair. Fake retreats that lured enemies into traps. Decoys that drew fire while the real attack came from another direction. Psychological warfare that made Krell commanders doubt their own decisions. This is deception, one delegate protested. It lacks honor. Nicole's expression hardened. When the Krell bombed Riverside, they killed 3,000 civilians. Where was the honor in that? We're not interested in fighting honorably. We're interested in protecting our people. If that means we have to be sneaky, ruthless, and unpredictable, then that's what we'll be. Lieutenant Amy Preston took the delegates to Earth's entertainment district in New York. She wanted to show them something that disturbed them even more than military training. She took them to a movie theater, a bookstore, and a gaming center. The aliens were confused at first. Then they realized what they were seeing. Humans consumed military content for entertainment. Movies about wars, books about battles, video games where children practiced combat scenarios for fun. An entire industry existed around the concept of conflict. You enjoy this? Asked a delegate from Minara, a species that found violence physically painful to witness. Amy shrugged. Some people do. Others prefer romance or comedy. But yes, military themes are popular in human culture. We tell stories about warriors and battles because it's part of our history. It's part of who we are. The delegates watched children playing a video game that simulated space combat. The kids were laughing and shouting, treating the virtual destruction of enemy ships as entertainment. The aliens found it deeply unsettling. Dr. Helen Burke met with the delegation in her laboratory. She was a scientist, not a soldier, but her work had made Earth's military dominance possible. She had developed weapons that the Galactic Council thought were impossible. The Council believed faster-than-light travel was the peak of physical achievement, Helen explained. You stopped pushing the boundaries of science because you were comfortable. Humans are never comfortable. We always want to know what's next, what's beyond, what we can create that has never existed before. She showed them a prototype weapon that made the delegates step back in fear. It was a small device no bigger than a briefcase that could generate enough energy to destroy a building. We call this a pocket destroyer, Helen said casually. It's completely legal under galactic law because it uses electromagnetic pulses, not nuclear or biological agents. But it's devastating in urban combat situations. We have thousands of them. The delegates realized that Earth had been carefully studying galactic laws for years, finding loopholes and gray areas. Humanity had developed weapons that were technically legal, but absolutely terrifying in their effectiveness. Vice Admiral Greg Hamilton gave the final presentation. He stood in front of a massive display showing Earth's complete military structure. The Shadow Fleet was only part of it. There were orbital platforms, ground forces, special operations units, intelligence networks, and weapon systems that the Krell Empire had never encountered. You asked how we're defeating the Krell so easily, Greg said. The answer is simple. We've been studying warfare for 10,000 years. We've fought millions of conflicts against ourselves. We've developed tactics and strategies through countless battles. When we joined your council, we studied every species, learning your weaknesses and strengths. We've been preparing for this war since the day we reached the stars. He zoomed in on the Krell Empire. Red zones showed territories they had lost. Yellow zones indicated areas under human assault. Green zones were Krell holdings that Earth had deliberately left alone. Notice we're not attacking civilian populations, Greg pointed out. We're destroying military infrastructure, command centers, and weapons facilities. We could wipe out their cities if we wanted to. But we don't want to. We're not monsters. We're just very, very good at warfare. The Thessian delegate finally asked the question that had been bothering all of them. How do we coexist with a species that could destroy us all? Greg looked at the assembled aliens, and for a moment they saw something human in his eyes. Not anger or aggression, but sadness. You coexist with us the same way we coexist with ourselves, he said quietly. We humans have weapons that could destroy our own planet 100 times over. We've had them for centuries, but we don't use them because we choose not to. We're capable of incredible violence, yes, but we're also capable of incredible restraint. The question isn't whether we can destroy you. The question is whether you'll give us a reason to. The delegation returned to the Galactic Council with their report. They described what they had seen, a civilization built on the foundation of warfare, a species that studied violence the way others studied art. The Krell Empire was dying, and Emperor Vorthak knew it. He sat in his throne room watching tactical displays that showed his territory shrinking by the hour. Red warning symbols covered the screens, each one representing a military base, shipyard, or supply depot that human forces had destroyed. In 3 weeks, Earth had accomplished what the Krell had thought impossible. They had broken the Empire. General Zexus entered the throne room with his head bowed. He carried the weight of failure on his shoulders. The Krell military, once considered the most powerful force in the sector, had been systematically dismantled by an enemy they had underestimated completely. My lord, Zexus said quietly, we've lost contact with the Outer Rim fleet. Intelligence suggests they were destroyed by human forces 6 hours ago. That's 300 ships gone. Vorthak didn't respond immediately. He was thinking about how this had happened. The Krell had ruled their territory for 4 centuries. They had crushed rebellions, conquered new worlds, and intimidated other species into submission. They had looked at humanity's small diplomatic fleet and decided Earth was weak. That mistake would cost them everything. How many ships do we have left? Vorthak asked. Approximately 800 combat-ready vessels, my lord. But our intelligence reports suggest Earth has only deployed about half their hidden fleet. They're holding forces in reserve. The Emperor stood and walked to the window overlooking his capital city. Millions of Krell lived below, going about their daily lives unaware that their empire was crumbling. Soon they would know. Soon everyone would know that the Krell Empire had fallen to humanity. Captain Derek Collins led his battle group into Krell space, now commanding the assault carrier Defiant. It was a massive ship, 3 times the size of his previous vessel, equipped with weapons that made Krell admirals wake up screaming. His mission was to take control of the Krell communication network and broadcast Earth's terms for peace. Sir, we're approaching the Krell relay station, his tactical officer reported. They're hailing us. They want to know our intentions. Derek smiled. Tell them our intentions are to park our ship in their orbit and have a conversation. If they don't like it, they can try to make us leave. The Krell didn't try. They had seen what happened to ships that fought the humans. The Defiant took up position above the relay station, and Derek opened a channel to the facility commander. This is Captain Derek Collins of Earth Defense. I'm here to deliver a message to your empire. You can broadcast it voluntarily, or we can take control of your systems and broadcast it ourselves. Your choice. The Krell commander was young and scared. He had been assigned to this remote station because it was supposed to be safe. Now a human warship was sitting in orbit, and he knew his shields wouldn't stop their weapons. We will broadcast your message, the commander agreed. Derek transmitted the terms. Across the Krell Empire, on every screen and communication device, President Linda Hayes appeared. She spoke in clear, simple language that left no room for misunderstanding. People of the Krell Empire, your leaders attacked human colonies without provocation. They killed 15,000 civilians. We asked your government to stop. We asked the Galactic Council to intervene. They did nothing, so we acted ourselves. Your military forces have been defeated. Your shipyards are destroyed. Your weapons facilities are gone. But we are not here to conquer you. We are here to ensure you never threaten anyone again. Linda paused, letting her words sink in. Your Emperor has 24 hours to accept our terms. Surrender unconditionally. Disarm your remaining military. Accept monitoring by international observers. Pay reparations to the families of those you killed. If you accept these terms, Earth will help rebuild your civilian infrastructure. If you refuse, we will continue our assault until there is nothing left of your military capacity. The broadcast ended. Emperor Vorthak watched it from his throne room with General Zexus standing beside him. The Emperor's claws dug into the armrests of his throne. They dare give me an ultimatum, Vorthak hissed. They dare threaten the Krell Empire. Zexus looked at his Emperor and saw a leader living in the past. The Empire was already gone. All that remained was accepting reality or dying for pride. My lord, Zexus said carefully, we cannot win this war. They've destroyed 60% of our military in 3 weeks. If we continue fighting, they'll destroy everything. Our people will suffer. Our civilization will collapse. Vorthak turned to glare at his general. You would have me surrender to humans? To a species that just learned to fly between stars. I would have you save our people, Zexus replied. That's what a good leader does. The Emperor struck him, claws leaving marks across Zexus's face. But the general didn't back down. He had served the Empire for 40 years. He had watched it rise, and now he was watching it fall. He wouldn't let it end in pointless destruction. General Lisa Montgomery commanded the ground operations for Earth. While the Space Forces destroyed Krell military infrastructure, Lisa's teams were preparing for something more delicate. They were going to capture key Krell installations without destroying them, proving that Earth could be precise when necessary. Her Special Forces units moved like ghosts. They infiltrated Krell military bases using stealth technology that made them nearly invisible. They disabled security systems, neutralized guards without killing them when possible, and seized control of strategic facilities. The Krell never saw them coming. Lieutenant Commander Jake Murphy led one of these operations against a Krell command center on the planet Vexar. His team of 12 soldiers moved through the facility in complete silence. They used non-lethal weapons when they could, lethal force only when necessary. Within 30 minutes, they controlled the entire base. Jake stood in the command center looking at the Krell officers they had captured. They were terrified, expecting to be killed. Instead, Jake had his medics treat their injuries and gave them water. We're not here to hurt you, Jake explained through a translator. We're here to end this war. Your empire attacked our people. We responded. Now it's time to stop. One of the Krell officers, a female named Shira, looked at Jake with confusion. You show mercy to enemies? This is not how the Empire fights. We're not the Empire, Jake replied. We're human. We fight hard, but we don't murder prisoners. We're trying to build a galaxy where everyone can live safely. Your leaders made that impossible, so we removed your leader's ability to threaten anyone. Dr. Kevin Shaw worked with Earth's Intelligence Division, studying the Krell to understand how they thought. He was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life, but his work had taken on military importance. Understanding the enemy meant knowing how to defeat them without unnecessary bloodshed. Kevin had discovered something interesting about Krell culture. They respected strength above all else. They had attacked human colonies because they thought humanity was weak. Now that Earth had proven its military superiority, the Krell psychology would shift. They would respect humans and possibly even become peaceful neighbors. He presented his findings to President Linda Hayes in a secure briefing. Ma'am, if we handle the surrender correctly, the Krell will accept Earth as a dominant power. They'll follow our lead in the future, because that's how their culture works. They follow the strong. Linda considered this information carefully. So if we're too soft in the peace terms, they'll see it as weakness? Exactly. We need to be firm but fair. Disarm them completely. Monitor them closely. But help them rebuild. Show them that we're strong enough to crush them, but wise enough to help them recover. That combination will earn their respect. Ambassador Vornis, who had laughed at Linda's warning in the council chamber, was found dead in his quarters. He had chosen ritual suicide rather than face the shame of his empire's defeat. His final message was transmitted to the Galactic Council, and it changed everything. I underestimated humanity, Vornis wrote. I saw their small fleet and assumed they were weak. I saw their desire for peace and mistook it for cowardice. I was wrong. The humans are not weak. They are terrifying. They fight like demons, but with the precision of machines. They show no mercy to military targets, but protect civilians with surgical accuracy. It's as if they have fought 1,000,000 wars before. He continued, his words becoming more disturbing. I looked into a human soldier's eyes once during a diplomatic meeting. I saw something there that scared me. It wasn't rage or hate. It was control. They keep something locked inside themselves, something dark and violent. They choose to be civilized, but when that choice is removed, when they stop pretending to be peaceful, they become unstoppable. We forced them to stop pretending. That was our doom. The Galactic Council read Vornis's final message in stunned silence. High Counselor Theros realized that humanity's warnings had been genuine. Earth didn't want to fight. They had tried every diplomatic option, but when forced into war, they had been absolutely devastating. Emperor Vorthak had 12 hours left to respond to Earth's ultimatum when General Zexus made his move. He walked into the throne room with 6 other senior officers, all of them veterans who had served the Empire loyally for decades. My lord, Zexus said formally, we are here to request that you accept Earth's terms. Vorthak rose from his throne, rage filling his eyes. You dare? I could have you executed for this. The war ended, but the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council gathered in their grand chamber, but the atmosphere had changed completely. They weren't meeting as equals anymore. They were meeting in the shadow of Earth's military power. President Linda Hayes walked into the chamber in person for the first time. She had refused to attend physically before, preferring holographic communication. Now she wanted every council member to see her face when she explained the new reality. Members of the council, Linda began, standing at the central podium. The war with the Krell Empire is over. They have accepted our terms and begun the process of disarmament. Earth's military forces will remain in Krell space to ensure compliance and to protect their civilian population during the transition. High Counselor Theros spoke carefully, his crystalline body reflecting the chamber's lights. President Hayes, the Council is grateful that the conflict has ended. However, we must discuss the future. Earth's military capabilities were unknown to us. This represents a significant shift in galactic power. Linda nodded. Yes, it does. For 20 years, Earth tried to fit into your system. We followed your rules, filed complaints through your channels, and waited for your justice system to work. It didn't work. 15,000 humans died while you held meetings, so we handled the situation ourselves. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from all 17 species. Here's what's going to happen now. Human colonies will receive the same protection as any core council world. If another species attacks our settlements, we will respond with overwhelming force. We're not asking for permission. We're stating fact. Ambassador Claire Watson stood beside Linda holding a datapad with the new agreements Earth wanted. She had spent 3 weeks negotiating with various council members, and most of them had already agreed to Earth's terms. They had seen what happened to the Krell and decided cooperation was better than conflict. We're proposing the Terran Defense Initiative, Claire explained. Any council species can request Earth's protection. We'll station defensive forces in your territory and respond to threats. In exchange, you recognize Earth's authority in military matters and grant us full voting rights on the Security Directorate. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species were outraged at what they saw as Earth demanding special treatment. Others were quietly relieved that humanity was offering protection rather than conquest. The galaxy had seen what Earth could do. Now they were deciding whether to accept the new order or resist it. Senator Kyle Rogers transmitted from Mars Colony, providing legal support for Earth's position. He had studied galactic law for 15 years and knew every treaty, regulation, and loophole. His presentation showed that Earth had technically broken no laws. They had simply prepared for war while everyone else prepared for peace. The Council's charter allows member species to maintain defensive forces, Kyle explained. Earth maintained defensive forces. You assumed our diplomatic fleet was our only military. That assumption was yours, not our deception. We never lied about our capabilities. We simply didn't advertise them. Over the next week, 12 species signed the Terran Defense Initiative. They included smaller civilizations that had been threatened by aggressive neighbors, trading empires that wanted safe shipping lanes, and even 2 species that had previously opposed Earth's Council membership. The galaxy was reorganizing around humanity's military strength. General Lisa Montgomery established the Joint Military Academy on Earth's moon. The facility would train officers from different species to work together, combining human tactical knowledge with alien technology and capabilities. The goal wasn't to make everyone fight like humans, but to raise the overall standard of galactic defense. Captain Derek Collins took command of the Rapid Response Fleet, a mixed force of human and alien vessels. His crew included members from 9 different species, all learning to work with humanity's intense military culture. It wasn't easy. Humans trained harder, pushed further, and expected perfection, but the alien crew members were learning. Derek stood on his bridge watching a training exercise. His tactical officer was a Thessian named Varys, who had never fired a weapon in anger before joining the fleet. Now Varys could coordinate complex battle maneuvers with confidence. "Captain," Varys said, analyzing the exercise results. "The squadron completed the drill in 12 minutes 4 seconds. That's 3 minutes faster than last week." Derek nodded with approval. "Good, but we can do better. Schedule another drill for tomorrow. Increase the difficulty." Commander Jake Murphy led a diplomatic mission to the remnants of the Krell Empire. Earth's terms had been harsh but fair. The Krell military was being dismantled, their weapons destroyed, their warships decommissioned. But Earth was also providing food, medical supplies, and engineers to help rebuild civilian infrastructure. Jake walked through the streets of the Krell capital with General Zexus, who now served as a liaison between Earth and his people. The Krell general had scars across his face where Emperor Vorthak had struck him, marks he wore with pride. "Your people surprise me," Zexus admitted. "We expected conquerors. Instead, you bring doctors and teachers." Jake smiled slightly. "We told you. We're not interested in conquest. We just wanted you to stop attacking our colonies. Now that you've stopped, we can help you build something better." They visited a medical facility where human doctors worked alongside Krell physicians, treating civilians injured during the war. A young Krell child approached Jake, looking up at him with large yellow eyes. "Are you the humans who defeated our warriors?" the child asked. Jake knelt down to the child's level. "Yes, but we're also the humans helping your people now. War is over. Now we build peace." Dr. Kevin Shaw opened the Institute for Interspecies Understanding, a research facility dedicated to preventing future conflicts. His team studied how different species communicated, thought, and made decisions. The goal was to identify potential misunderstandings before they escalated into violence. Kevin discovered something important in his research. Most galactic civilizations had evolved past their aggressive phases naturally, through environmental pressures or cultural development. Humanity was unique in actively choosing to suppress their warrior nature, while retaining the capability to unleash it. We're the only species that practices controlled violence, Kevin explained to his research team. Every human child learns to manage aggression, to choose when to fight and when to walk away. Other species either evolved past violence entirely or never developed it to our degree. That makes us unusual. He presented his findings to the Galactic Council in a public lecture. Humanity spent 10,000 years fighting each other before we reached the stars. We developed weapons, tactics, and strategies through countless conflicts. But we also developed philosophy, ethics, and laws to control that violence. We're not monsters. We're a species that learned to channel aggression into productive purposes until someone threatens our children. Then we remember what we really are. High Counselor Theros requested a private meeting with President Linda Hayes. They met in a quiet garden on Earth surrounded by flowers and trees from across the planet. The crystalline being seemed to glow in the sunlight. President Hayes, Theros began carefully, the Council must ask a difficult question. How do we coexist with a species that could destroy us all? Linda had expected this question. She looked at Theros and spoke honestly. The same way humans coexist with ourselves. We have weapons on Earth that could destroy our own planet hundreds of times over. We've had them for centuries. Nuclear weapons, biological agents, chemical weapons. Any one of them could end human civilization. But you don't use them, Theros observed. No, because we choose not to. That's what makes humanity different. We're capable of incredible violence, yes, but we're also capable of incredible restraint. We choose civilization over chaos. We choose cooperation over conflict. But that choice is only possible when others respect it, Linda continued, her voice firm but not threatening. The Krell didn't respect our choice. They saw our preference for peace as weakness. They attacked our colonies, killed our children. At that point, the choice was removed. We had to respond. But notice something, Counselor. We destroyed the Krell military, but we protected their civilians. We could have bombed their cities, but we didn't. Even in war, we maintained our ethics. Theros understood. Humanity was offering the galaxy a deal. Treat them with respect, protect their people, and they would be valuable allies. Betray them, threaten their families, and they would become the most dangerous enemy imaginable. The Galactic Council restructured over the following months. Earth gained a permanent seat on the Security Directorate, equal to the oldest and most powerful civilizations. Captain Nicole Grant became the first human to command a Council peacekeeping force, her Shadow Fleet techniques now being studied by military academies across known space. Ambassador Claire Watson worked tirelessly to build new relationships between Earth and the other Council species. Some, like the Thessians, embraced humanity's presence. Others remained wary but respectful. A few smaller groups spoke of leaving the Council entirely, afraid of Earth's growing influence. Vice Admiral Greg Hamilton addressed these concerns in a public statement.